What's up, everybody? It's Ty the Bourbon Guy, and welcome back to another Whiskey Haul. This one's a little bit different than other ones that I've done in a sense that this actually came from an event, and I got a chance to go down to Hard Truth Distillery down in Nashville, Indiana, Brown County, and let me tell you, it was an amazing experience, and that team down there is absolutely amazing. Hard Truth is a distillery that when I first found them, a few people had talked about it. I got a suggestion here or there to try their rye, and their sweet mash process apparently was supposed to be, a key factor in this that made it very good. And so they make a sweet mash rye. I saw it here. It's Indiana. Let me go ahead and try it. And when I tried that at the time, I drank rye whiskey, but I was still pretty particular, and I was still trying to figure out maybe what I wanted in terms of an experience with rye whiskey. And when I had their bottle, that sweet mash rye, it changed my opinion of the whole category. Between them, and I've always credited Peerless as doing the same. So those two, for me, were big factors into me liking rye whiskey now. But at the time, I tried their sweet mash rye, and it was one of those things like anybody that ever asked me for a suggestion when it came to rye whiskey, Hard Truth, sweet mash rye, it's still one of my biggest suggestions. So I was always a fan of what they were doing. And the more I learned about them, I live in Indianapolis, and they have different bars in the area and things like that. And, they make these different cocktails and whatever. So anytime I see the brand, I just kind of have this positive association that, hey, this is a company that really seems to care about the quality of what they're putting in a bottle. And I think with craft whiskey right now, that is a factor. I mean, you have some people that are rushing out a product and it's not that good. And sometimes it's year-wise, maybe age-wise, it has it, but product still is not that good. And, maybe the grain's going in it, maybe the process isn't perfected, maybe they need to adjust their mash bill, whatever the case is. And I can't say that about Hard Truth. Hard Truth just seems to have it figured out. And, to be a craft whiskey, if I gave this to somebody blind, I don't think they would be able to pick out that it's craft. So I already had an interest in Hard Truth. They recently reached out to me and asked me to come down to the distillery for their VIP event. And basically what that means is they are getting ready to release their bourbon. Started distilling it however long ago, about, I think 2018 is when they first started, right? And so now you're putting yourself into a situation where you've got a bourbon to release that's at least 4 years old. And we know that because 2 out of the 3 that they are releasing are bottled bond bourbons. When I was actually down there, they did tell me that actually all 3 are at least 4 years old. Even though the other one's not bottled and bond, they're at least still 4 years old. So you're releasing 3 different bourbons that are at least 4 years old. And as a craft distillery, and this is your first time doing it, they invited me down there, invited a few others down there. And it was great to, anytime I can connect with other people that make content and do all that stuff, it's awesome as is. But to go down there, from the minute I pulled in, beautiful distillery, it actually snowed that day. So the snow on the rick houses, on the distillery, it just was like a perfect scene. And to go in and immediately be welcomed, and immediately, that team comes up to me and, knows who I am and, welcomes me and just makes me feel like part of that. That was an unbelievable experience. And I think it's something that is missing in whiskey. It can be. There's a lot of people that are doing this very well. There's still some that are missing the mark. When you have a partnership, or whether it's somebody that you're, whatever it may be, that you're sending stuff to or building a relationship with, hey, try this, give us feedback on that whiskey, whatever the case is, the little things matter. So when I walk in and, people are saying hi to me, and it's not just because they know who I am, nothing like that. It's more of like this welcoming feeling like, hey, we're so happy that you're here. And I felt immediately like I was part of that team. And they gave me and I'm a big fan of handwritten notes, but a card, a handwritten thank you card, addressed to me, had my name on it, all that stuff. And just for coming down. Thank you for coming down. Thank you, even though it's snowing and you drove through all this crap to get here. Thanks for coming down. And that was special. And then to have a little bit of time beforehand, I got a chance to chat with the marketing team, Seth and Emily down there they're awesome. They are absolutely awesome. Got a chance to talk with the master distiller as well. And I've done a million different tours. So the tour part of it, it's cool to see their side of it, but especially because of that sweet mash process. But it's a tour, right? The people is what made that experience for me. And then to take that tour, and then we actually got a chance to go down, and they actually had the 3 different barrels from their products, these 3 different bourbons, and getting a chance to thieve it from each. So those that maybe are not familiar, thieving from a barrel is when you see that long thief and you pull it out of the barrel and put it right into a glass. And so you're literally drinking whiskey straight from a barrel. And that's, no matter where it is or how it's done, that's one of the coolest experiences in general. But to try these different whiskeys right out of the barrel and in its purest form, it was just like, it just blew me away. It was very, very good. And that was the first time I got a chance to try any of their bourbon at all. So I kind of felt like if we started here, I know we're going to have to water it down a little bit to get back to that 100 proof or, 90 proof or whatever it is that we're aiming at. But if we're starting here, this is a very good starting point. So got a chance to do that, finish up a tour. We went into this tasting room, and from there they had cocktails that they were, I guess that were brand new as well. They were opening up these cocktails and letting us try some of those. And I had a New York sour, which wasn't even familiar with that. I like a good whiskey sour. But to me, I guess the only thing I noticed differently was it's like a red wine that they put into the sour. And I don't know if that's what makes it a New York sour or whatever. I'm not the biggest fan of red wine, but in that sour, that cocktail was absolutely amazing. So got a chance to do that and then meet some of the other creators that were there for the event, talk with them a little bit, talk with the team there at Hard Truth. Then we went through a guided tasting where we got a chance to try each of these different ones. And I can't stress enough how much I was surprised. And that's weird to say that because I knew it would be good because the rye whiskey's good. And whatever they're doing in terms of their process or quality control and tasting this to make sure this whiskey is right and is ready, they must be doing something right in terms of their rye whiskey. But still, to make that jump from a rye whiskey to a bourbon, sometimes it doesn't go well for certain companies and certain brands. And so even though they do make amazing things, there's still kind of that question mark of, yeah, but how's the bourbon going to taste? And especially at 4 years old, maybe, New Riff put out a product that was pretty good, in my opinion. At 4 years old, they did the same thing. They waited until it was ready. So it can be done for sure, especially on the craft side. And it just takes that patience versus rushing out a product that's a year old. And maybe people don't even give it a second chance by the time it is 4 years old. So to taste these going in, I guess I didn't really know what my expectations were, but either way, I was blown away by it. And so to run through the bottles that I got, as you can see, I came home with quite a bit. It's a pretty good experience there. I got the Sweet Mash Bourbon, and this is their 90 proof. MSRP is, I thought they said around $40. I would imagine somewhere in that range. So 90 proof. This is actually the one I got a chance to try right out of the barrel. And Hard Truth, if you're listening, maybe not right now, dip your toes in the whole bourbon thing, but one day, please make a cast strength single barrel version of this, because that was absolutely amazing. That was a fantastic whiskey. But this 90 proof, it's I think one it's going to be approachable. It's one that you can mix with cocktails. Drinking it neat, I thought it was just fine. It still surprised me, even though it's 90 proof. Still has a lot of flavor there. So that was the first bottle that I was able to try. They also have a bottled and bond wheated bourbon. And this one is, I feel like a lot of people maybe were in this category where, like wheated bourbons. And so this is probably the one, if I had to pick, that I would say that's going to be the one that I love. It was good, but spoiler alert, this 4 grain is a special bottle. I don't know what you guys did with this hard truth, but I don't know. It is absolutely amazing. The notes that I've heard from different people are kind of all over the place. Still leaning towards that sweet side for sure, but I've heard candy sweetness. For myself, I got like pancakes, maple syrup, like definitely breakfast type of feel to it. But I think we're all kind of in this sweetness realm. We all can identify that this is sweet, but it's interesting to me to hear how many different notes there are coming from different people's reviews. The 4 grain was on my list of bottles I wanted to acquire in 2024. Check that one off the list, and it was absolutely worth the wait. It was worth the drive, all of it, and it's worth the money. This bottle is a fantastic bottle. I cannot wait to review all of these, but this 4 grain really surprised me. I thought for sure the wheated would be my absolute favorite. Again, nothing wrong with any of these whiskeys up here, but this 4 grain is something special for sure. And since I was down there, might as well check out some of their other bottles. So the Hard Truth High Road Rye. This one, I wasn't really familiar with what's the difference between this and your sweet mash rye. And overall, I understand that this is still a sweet mash process, but I couldn't really figure out, and I keep mentioning sweet mash. So for those maybe that are not familiar, sweet mash process versus a sour mash process really just means that you're starting the whole process over again with fresh everything. And so fresh grain, fresh yeast, you're starting the whole process over when you have a sweet mash process each time. So I wasn't really as familiar with the High Road Rye. I kept seeing it and I heard good things, but I really wasn't sure. So the mash bill is different. But the way they explained it to me down there is the sweet mash rye is a fantastic pour, but it's about, I think, $70, $75, somewhere in that range. When you're talking about a bar, unless somebody knows that brand and knows that whiskey and comes in and orders it neat, I don't know that many people that are reaching for that to put it into a cocktail. So I think bars were looking for something maybe at a lower price point to be able to use in cocktails and things like that. And this was Hard Truth's answer to that. Still a fantastic pour, even neat. But I could definitely see, especially at that price point of $30, $35, that yeah, this is, I mean, what more can you ask for out of a whiskey that's so versatile that you can mix it in a cocktail, you can drink it neat, you can put it on a rock, you can do whatever. And this is actually, it's still going to be approachable. And so if you're new to whiskey and you're maybe new to drinking whiskey neat, this would be one to try to check out. And they called this a bourbon drinker's rye. You know, with that corn in there, I think it kind of plays together. I think tasting it, I would just assume it was maybe a high rye mash bill, which it is. Because it's a rye. But you know, so I think if you're maybe kind of dipping your toes into the rye whiskey game, this might be one you want to check out, especially if you're liking some of the 90 proof stuff versus 100 or plus. Great bottle. All right, the next one up is the Cognac Finish. This is their sweet mash rye again, but finishing their cognac barrels. And I actually got a chance to try their PX brandy, and there's a whole series. There's a finishing series that they have. And once I tried that PX brandy, and I heard people say that they actually preferred some of the other ones over the brandy. It's like, if that's the worst of the bunch, then let me just go ahead and get all these. So had to get the cognac one to add to that series. And then they also have this one, which is a sherry finish as well. That was also part of that series as well. So like I said, overall, fantastic experience. It was awesome. Disclaimer, I say in every video that ever happens in, these bottles were either sent to me or given to me by Hard Truth. But again, it's more than just the whiskey. To me, it's always about building those relationships. And it's, I think on the outside looking in, free whiskey is awesome, sounds great. But for me, I look at it like it is a relationship, and I'm trying to just make sure that that partnership is truly a partnership, that you're not just sending me stuff for me to just say I got free whiskey. You're giving me things to try, and we kind of talked about this. I talked about this with their marketing team while I was down there. As a content creator, somebody who makes content about whiskey, if somebody tells me, hey, we're going to send you this bottle and you need to talk about it, you need to talk about this or that, or how good it is, or, you know, you need to make X amount of videos and all this stuff, I absolutely refuse it every single time. If you send me something if I think it's that good, I will tell you that I think it's that good. And so I'm going to want to talk about it. I go down there, I have a great experience, amazing team, amazing whiskey. I'm now making a video wanting to talk about it. Hard Truth did not ask me to make a video. They didn't do anything besides invite me down and ask me to try their whiskey. That's it. That's all it took. Between the hospitality and what's in this bottle, amazing. And I will recommend them all the time. So if you haven't tried Hard Truth, if they are in your area, please give them a try. I think if you're picking some of the bourbons, I think there's something for everybody. Again, a wheated bourbon for those that enjoy wheated bourbons. There's the 90 proof for maybe somebody that's looking for something more approachable. Still a very good product. And then the 4 grain, I think if you're that enthusiast that loves to pick out notes and pick apart a whiskey and things like that, I think that 4 grain would be right down your alley as well. So thank you so much, Hard Truth, for obviously the whiskey, but thank you so much for the invite down to that event. Amazing event. If you're ever in Indiana or in that area and you get a chance to go by Hard Truth, do it. I promise you won't be disappointed at all. Thank you so much for tuning into this video, and I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.